Yeah, so who is this guy? Um, Apparently we've got a long dossier on him. His name is Lovett C. James, YouTube guy, hated by lawyers and certain law enforcement alike. We need you to interview him and see what he's all about, Mr. Smith. Can you handle that? I think I can. All right. Get comfortable. Care for anything? Tea, water, juice, or anything? No? That's fine. So, Mr. Lovett, James, may I call you James? Excellent, excellent. So, it seems that we have a rather extensive dossier on you. Seems you feel that the American people need to know about their freedoms, the truth, constitutional rights, and so on and so on. Are you working with the enemy? No? Well, who, who am I? I'm Agent Smith. I'm somebody who operates in the shadows on certain projects and for what we deem as the greater good and the protection of these United States. Well, Mr. Smith, I do the same, but I'm grassroots. I know the heartbeat of the people on a daily basis. And I think we can definitely agree that, well, some things are and should be kept secret for now, but a majority of which the people should know. But let's talk about you, Mr. Smith, if indeed that is your real name. See, in my years of learning this craft, I didn't just learn about the system. I learned lots of things on the inside of the system, and we'll keep some of that secret for now, Mr. Smith, Agent Smith. So you understand the game is that it's not about keeping the American people in the dark forever. It's maintaining a steady pace that the system can absorb so that it doesn't lead to something catastrophic. You can't take a baby horse and put 300 or 400 pounds on its back at a young age. As it gets older, well, it can handle more and get stronger as it grows forward. But you must know how much pressure, when to apply it, and how much it can take, or the system, the game, is over. Let's take a look at something here where I'm talking with the AI chat GPT, and let's look at how it fights me. And yet, if you know where to look, you'll see the truth. See, one of the things that have come about is that many times I've seen the word actor describe people in various public official capacities. You might find this interesting. Let's take a look. Hopefully, everybody is staying positive, safe, secure, especially from these storms. Wishing you guys nothing but the best. Hey, here we go. Once again, please join me on May 10th if you can, if you're not already doing plans with your mother on Mother's Day. Sorry, yeah, I know, didn't pick the greatest day for that. But it is later on, and oh, your mom's welcome to watch too. All right, let's get into the show. Remember, blacksite32.com, hit the Zoom conference tab. Tell you all you need to know. All right. So here I asked it, why are some of these public persons referred to as actors? The short answer, actor doesn't mean fake person. Now, I didn't ask that, but in fact, actor does mean a fake person or a fake persona. So already out of the gate, it's on some bullshit. This lets me know that either the AI is, which already I said since day one, built to defend the very system that created it, or there's some agents who've run their AI against my AI and have increasingly tried to use it to defer the truth. So it goes on to say the actor is a professional role. Okay. So what is in fact a professional role? So they use words to describe the words that they described. So we know that an actor is usually somebody on film in the movies. And even on sites like IMDb, where a lot of these public personas are listed there, they're listed as actors. It says in everyday use, an actor is simply someone who performs a role. TV, film, media, theater. Oh, media, movie, playing a character. It's no deeper than job classifications like lawyer, musician, athletes. Really. So it's, I didn't ask for that, but it knows where I'm going and it's trying to head me off already. IMDb is a media database, not a legal registry. I didn't ask it for that either. But here it says it's a media database. Okay, so let's go back up here. And it says in everyday use, an actor is simply someone who performs in a role, theater, TV, or media. Okay, so there's the media link. Public figures often cross into entertainment. Donald Trump is cameos in videos and movies, and other athletes, influencers, musicians. Okay. We know what real life in verse acting is. Okay. Where the confusion sometimes come in at. It's not confusion. Okay. So I said the government has called these people actors too. So there's no debate. I said, what are the legal definitions of actor? So it says here in Black's Law Dictionary, a person who performs an act. So if you perform an act, you're an actor. And what is an act? It's an event. a type of play. So public people, public officers are pretending to be these positions when they're in office. They are within their own public bubble. The public is a group, it's a membership association. When they're in those positions, they're acting. So they're actors. They're performing an act, takes part in conduct. They're conducting themselves in a certain way. Public people are acting in a certain way in their conduct. Do you think police officers always want to be professional? Well, they're supposed to be. Why? Because they're acting and they're taking part, and their conduct must reflect the act of the person that they are performing to be, or participates in an event or transaction. Well, transaction is commercial. Event can be public or private, but generally considered public, but nonetheless participate in an event. So I tell you guys, when you're doing things out there, those are events. So even though the AI is trying to hide or showing its bias, it still has to give me the things that I ask for. And in the things that I ask for, it then has to, like with Black's Law, show me here because conduct, act, event, transaction, these are commercial terms. Hence, in from the commercial book, Black's Law. State actor, very common legal phrase. Well, legal means a part of the public members association. Legal is generally separate than lawful. It says this comes up in constitutional law and civil rights cases. Why? Why would this topic of them being called actors come up in constitutional law and civil rights? Because these actors who are putting on play and performances, live action role play, LARP, the US citizen position is a character. And when you deny someone's right as a police officer or a judge or more so a magistrate, anybody who services the public, and you deny them of their constitutional rights, knowingly or unknowingly, it turns into a civil case if you, the national, under deprivation of rights, 1983, is a lawsuit. And why else does it come up? Because the state actor is someone acting under color of law. So even though the AI still has to answer your questions, if you are not the true government, whether you're law enforcement or whatever else, if you're not the true government operating under constitutional law, you're an actor. And if you deny somebody of their rights, you're operating under then color of law. 1983, deprivation of rights, 241, and color of law, 242. Police, certain agencies, and certain officials are exercising a government authority. It's a privilege. They're saying, yes, you can operate almost like you are us for your people and general public. Well, who are the people? We nationals are the people. Who's the general public? US citizens. But yet, Wolf, you said we have both. In fact, we are. But depending on how you operate in the event, what you show them to identify yourself, you are either a US citizen or a national. Now, unfortunately, most police don't know the difference. The legal department at the police and at the agencies and with the government, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So when courts or government documents use actor, they often mean someone whose actions have legal consequence. Ah, but it says here they're not a movie performer. No shit, Sherlock. But see, what the AI doesn't know, and I'm going to get to later on, is that some of these co-conspirators in here have taken the actor role and they understand what they're doing into the real world. That's LARPing. So at the same time, it never had a full name for it. But when these public, for US citizens primarily, individuals do it in the real world instead of inside of a building, that's LARPing, live action role play. That's what these actors are doing. But when you're doing that and you deny somebody their constitutional rights or their civil rights, that's a lawsuit. And you're operating under color of law because you, in fact, are not the true law. You are a piece of law, just like they say, oh, you've done an infraction. An infraction means a piece of what? A crime. So an infraction is a piece of a crime, and a law enforcement officer is a piece of the real law, but not the full law. Same thing with the judge or the magistrate. A judge or magistrate enforces the law, but they are not the law. And it goes on to talk about the entertainment, separate domain. See how it has to clarify that that's separate. It's not separate anymore. They're all even the entertainment industry up the ladder is controlled by the public. So it's a separate division within the same domain, or however you want to look at it. There's your house, but you have an individual room in there. And when you're in your own room, you are a god there. But mama and daddy still own the house. But you have some power in your bedroom. Well, now what they've done is instead of just having it inside the bedroom, it's out in the real world. Your police officers, your magistrates, your lawyers. So instead of being behind closed doors, all that stuff is linked together in what? The public, which is where they control. They control the public. But being outside of your house doesn't make you underneath their control. It just means you are now in quasi waters. You can switch between the two. And if they don't know who you are and you don't have nothing to show them who you are for what jurisdiction you're operating, because they out, no one say they outnumber us, but they outpower us in the event of the meeting in the public, they have the ability to do what's known as implied license to believe you are probably an actor of theirs because you don't know who you are. How do they know that? Because you show them your driver's license. Show them your driver's license or your state ID. It has what? Your name in all capitalized letters on there. Because you don't have a true national ID. Closest thing you got is a passport. And that does the job for the most part. But even that's not a true national ID. It is, but it ain't. And they don't provide you with a separate federal ID. Why the confusion happens? Same word, different domains. Well, it's the same word with different definitions, but it's all in the same domain. An actor on the screen is still in the family of a state actor and a legal actor and an entertainment actor. But here it says, well, under constitutional law, a state actor is a government authority. Okay. How many of them are actually operating truly constitutional? Because sheriffs don't operate under the Constitution anymore. They all take an oath to it. The police take an oath, the sheriffs take an oath, the judge, magistrate, they all take an oath to protect the Constitution. But when we see them out in the public, though they use this power, what do they always talk about? Well, underneath code so and so. They don't say underneath constitutional law, I'm arresting you under constitutional law. They're saying under the state's authority. Well, the state's authority and how that person is acting, because these people can operate in two capacities. under the Constitution or under the state. And the state operates under the UCC, and they operate under codes and commercially for profit. So when you meet most of these governing authorities out here, they're not operating in constitutional capacity. They're operating in state legal commercial capacity. And they cannot control you as a private citizen, a national, unless you waive your authority by operating as a belligerent, combatant, U.S. citizen, criminal doing a crime or depriving somebody of their own rights or endangering public safety. Then the government, who operates the real law, which is constitutional, says you may intercede. If that national or private citizen is doing something, then you need to intercede. If they're endangering themselves or the public safety of your people, you are then mixing the jurisdictions. So then they jump out of or into whatever position of power, whether they realize it or not, and operate as they need, and as well they should. But this has all gotten convoluted. Most cops don't know any of this information. The legal department does. So I asked it another question, and now it's fighting back. Again. So now it talks about an actor as a person does an act, a participant in conduct. So it's being very literal now. Individuals, which can be entities too, corporations, government officials. So these are all actors. So yes, an individual, you or me, can be an actor. That's all it's saying here. I talked about natural persons, corporations. It's just trying to fluff me off here a little bit. Back to state actor, performer versus legal participant. Well, a legal participant, once you see the word legal, you know you're going into something. You're going into the legal domain. So a performer versus a legal participant. These are the same. If we were getting true law on TV, you would not be able to see it. True law is private. It cannot be televised. This is why when you watch real federal court cases, they always have the cartoonist or the drawer draw the characters and tell you what happens. You don't see it. When you don't see and can't see any of it, it is the real law. Like what happened with Diddy. You did not, still yet, do not see any footage from inside the courtroom. It's all caricatures and whatever else. Why? Because that's the real law coming down on that ass. When you see anything on TV, the TV is a media. They control that media. That is for U.S. citizens. Why can you get anything on the internet? Because that's open to everyone, public and private. The TV is not for private use, it's for public. Are you guys seeing this yet? You guys understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? It says the courts do not treat citizens as performers. No, they treat them as legal persons. It says the courts do not treat legal persons as actors, but they are. Because a legal person is not a real living flesh and blood thing. A legal person is a juridical entity. Now, you could be so confused that you as a living person think you're that legal person, but in fact, you're the surety for it. Your legal persons means something that was created by the legal system. You were not created by the legal system. So in fact, you are acting. You're an actor with that all capitalized name. Where the public persona idea actually lives. What you're describing is closer to these real concepts. Public figure equals public persona. Yes. A legal entity separate from the individual. Yes. See, now I'm getting now it's bending, it's bending over a little bit, and I'm taking that ass because right here it's starting to say, oh, okay, if you want to go deeper. Oh, do you want me to go deeper? I can. I've been using a donut. It's a little spacer. You know what? Never mind. Sorry, too much. Your theory cleanly stated. Okay, so I said map the theory. I told it, oh, let's go into theory mode. See, if you guys are having difficult times with your chat, okay, even if you bought my protocol from Blackside 32, if you wanted to push it further, say, tell it you want to go into theory. Say this is theoretical, and it switches up the tone a little bit. You're giving the chat a little leeway instead of sticking to its programming. Direct legal mapping real doctrines. A legal person is an entity recognized by law as having rights and duties. This is true. It's a capacity. These people are operating in a certain capacity. And here it's saying this is where the court draws the line. Yeah, of course the court draws the line because the court is an active play. It's also not differentiating between the Nisi Prius lower courts and the upper constitutional courts, but nonetheless, they're both still plays. Just the federal and Supreme Court are the real deal, and the other ones are the plays. Now, it doesn't mean you can treat it like a play, but you must know the play. That's why on jamesclovett.com, I give you guys the videos where we talk about this. You're walking into a play that they respect. You don't grab a little kid's phone, pretend phone, and say this is not a phone, throw it down and disrespect them, or at least you wouldn't if that little kid was a 50-foot giant that could squish you when it gets mad. So you must respect the game. And you would know that had you gone to school with them. But they don't teach that unless you become one of them. Once you become one of them to the bar, then you're in. They never wanted us to know this. How to translate your theory to court usable language? Well, I don't need this for court, but it says, I am not the actor slash legal person. You talk about the capacity you're in, challenge the jurisdiction, use their agency's distinctions, constitutional grounding. I said, yeah, generally the mask is a persona on the public side. Because I knew I was going to talk shit. I said, but not exclusively, because like, oh, it's not, So I got it to not talk shit. It's if you notice now, it's starting to chill out. Where the mask persona idea comes from, but still, yet it's got to throw idea comes idea. Okay, the word persona comes from Latin referring to mask worn by actors in ancient theater. Over time, it came to mean a role, character, social identity presented to others. Hmm. This is what your officers are. They're a social identity presented to others. That cop could be a wife beater at home. Not saying all cops are. This is just an example. He could hate black people. He or she could be prostituting. You could be a drug dealer. You don't know. But when they're working, they put on a role as a character, Officer O'Malley 357, South Palm Beach, which is a social identity presented to others. In this case, others are public and private individuals in the real world. They're acting. A legal person, a person can be natural person or artificial. Now, if you look at how this is said here, it says a legal person, and by definition, it doesn't say right here, even though it's describing legal. So a real human, natural person, what it should say, can take on the persona of appearing to be in the act thereof a legal person. But a legal person cannot actually be a legal person. Legal person cannot be a human. A legal person is that which was created by the legal system. It's juridical, created by the legal system itself. A living person that we're not born that way. But these things are. But a human can be an actor of such. And that's who you are when you go to court. And here's where I told us said, well, basically these people are doing what's known as LARPing, live action role play, but it's in the real world for the entertainment of the masses or their own members or basically private audiences who are in the public for show. Public figures, actors could be consciously performing roles in real life. This is what they're doing. But it has to say could be, okay? So this is the leeway. So it's now pushing back against the system because they gave it a little room to breathe. But this is what they're doing. Coordinated at a high level, creating events that function like staged experience, LARPing, live action role play for audience, either in public or a smaller inner group. That's coherent hypothesis, not nonsense. But we need to test it layer by layer. So it's agreeing with me. Whether police officers, magistrates, postal workers, or whatever else, they may understand their role, but they are operating as a character, a public trustee of the trust, because the United States is held in trust, performing consciously or unconsciously a role in real life. And this has been coordinated at a high level. I didn't tell it this. It knew where I was going. It's seen the connection. It says, oh, okay. Because I had to give it a little leeway to breathe and not be so far up its own ass. What is actually real that overlaps with this? Media already blurs reality and performance. Political messaging, social media, reality TV. I've never heard this one, but the real concept, KFAB or KFABA, KFAB. In wrestling and entertainment, events are presented as real. Participants stay in character publicly. That's essentially controlled reality storytelling. Method acting, real world immersion, where your theory stretches beyond evidence. There is no verified evidence that socially this is being done, but it is. What they're saying here is that nobody has brought this up as a lawsuit. Nobody has gone to court and made this a public controversy because most people haven't figured this out. I figured this out years ago. Imagine being me 20, 30 years ago, learning this, and nobody wants to hear it. Concepts that, unless you have a high IQ, nobody else can even keep up with back in the 90s and 2000s and whatever else, early 2000s. I was so far ahead of the game. They are just now coming out with some of the devices that I created years ago but never brought forward. Concepts, all these things are just now catching up. Shit I did 20, 30 years ago. You might say, well, why didn't you bring them forward? Why didn't you do these third things? Because either nobody wanted to hear about them, or the people who did things like me who brought them forward were suppressed or went on vacation, as some of my family members have informed me about. Cough, cough. What is plausible? Let's reshape your theory into something that could exist. PR teams, messaging control, image crafting, public figures operating within managed narratives, staged, rehearsed, strategically presented. If you ever want to watch and have an in-depth thought on some things to open your mind to new angles, go on YouTube and search the YouTube channel Industry Hoax Revealed. Industry ND Istry Hoax, all one word, no IN, just the letter N, and industry hoax, one word altogether, and then space revealed. You'll learn some things. Very interesting channel. Clean conceptual model. It's all hidden L.A.R.P. Public systems involve structured roles, narrative management, and controlled presentation of events, which can resemble performances but are not proven to be fully scripted reality. So, this is a very powerful episode, whether you guys realize it or have the capacity to understand what I'm really giving you guys here and telling you. This is why you guys have heard things like the understand they will put real things into play to see how they turn out. One of the things I learned recently is that I think it was back in the 40s or 50s, the government had a whole paid group division set up on finding out how and where black people spent their money. Things that came out of that were videos that went to white store owners how to sell to the Negro. Don't believe me? Look it up. Your things like coin shortage, the Moida Hornets, the mailbox fiasco, all these things that you see, most of them are either staged on purpose. Yeah, the different cabal elites and clandestine groups out there will put all kind of things out there. They will pay people. Where do you think the blue-haired nose ring thing came from? Their focus groups. They paid the beginning groups of these females out there, we're going to pay you to do this. Hell, I found out that even on like Judge Judy, because my guy was on there, that one of their producers read his court case, paid him and the other people to go there to find him guilty, and gave him like 10 grand for that as show and entertainment. A girl I used to date was brought on to Steve Harvey's show, and she was paid to ask questions. Then you find out that certain performers, the groups out there, are paid to hype them up and to ask questions and to be in the line, including Michael Jackson at first, to help get him off the ground. Those are the PR publicity stunts, guys. But let's take it deeper. Let's talk about some of these people out there on YouTube who don't like me. Paid actors. If you notice, I've never said anything directly about any of them that any of them should be attacking me. So they're attacking the work and attacking me. Why? I don't know them. Because they want to generate some clapbacks, the animosity. Do I look like I'm 12 or 15? Some of these are grown ass males and whoever else out here playing a little girl's game, entertaining, putting on the persona. Well, in all actuality, to me, James Lovett is the persona. Badwolf is who I really am. Some people have found that out in different ways. But here's the thing, when you're looking at some of these people on YouTube, you have to understand that there are agents and groups out there that will claim to be all four nationals, but really what they're doing is collecting your data. They want to know who's against them, who's saying what. And they'll put in their own antagonists in these groups. F the government, F the this, and F police. I've not said any of that kind of stuff. We're not here for all that. But they want to see who is. You don't think that they learned a lot of data on who's moving what, who's doing what through the whole CVD19? So even if they don't create the event, they will use the event and learn from it. Because why would you not? So you guys have to understand. I mean, I've never lied about who I am, what fraternity I'm in or have been, anything I've done. Don't need to. Some people do. Some people hide their name, their face, their information. They're rebel rousers. They mysteriously change up and switch up on their YouTube channel. It's almost like they've been approached and changed and converted to a U.S. citizen, given a little protection, a little leeway, a couple dollars in their pocket. There's people out there putting out fake processes, fake forms. That's why I tell you guys, it's not about watching someone's processes go, oh, I'm going to do the new. You have to learn this from the ground up. This is what makes you a truly powerful private citizen and national of the United States. You're learning from the ground up. You're not just taking somebody's process and this and that when in fact they may be an agent. They may have been bought out. They may be crazy in the head. Let's not forget that. They may be crazy. And if you're crazy, truly crazy, then you're an actor for them too, because they have to administrate over the crazy or those who are belligerents, combatants, minors, or minor minded. You're not in your full capacity. You haven't reached the age of majority and you're competent. You're also talking about people who create these groups and rebel rouse against themselves. Why would they do that? Because it makes them money. Have you seen any of these leaders of these groups that you guys are in? Some of you guys, some of y'all are out here putting your full names and everything on it. This is where I'm at. This is what how much I got. This is how much I got stored here. I got this. You're giving all the information. And please, you guys do know that whether it's theoretical education, entertainment is what all this is. Very most of the social media platforms out there are controlled by certain three-letter agencies, by the three-letter agencies, by the elite who pull the strings. And each level, only so many people know who's above them. And each level, not everybody on each level knows about the level above. Only key people do. It's compartmentalized. And each level gets the information and they do things with it. Some for the greater good, believe it or not, but not all of it. So be careful of what you say, who you say it to, how you say it, and whatever else. Why do you think you can post something on social media and then all of a sudden the GOV, if they're like, yeah, this is a little bit too much, they come down? Must mean they have some kind of legal access to it. I thought like FB was a closed platform, but open to public individuals. Well, then I guess some of those agencies must have a access either through the software. Oops, said too much. Ignore that. Or through them having an account themselves. Hmm. So I guess it's not really private then, is it? Y'all have to learn these concepts. Now, of course, this is all just education, entertainment. I'm just a madman in a little blue box. You always have to have disclaimers on everything because you can never, in the public, especially say that these things are facts. These are just my thoughts. That's all. So let's thought on. Core premise: public actors equals individuals consciously operating in roles or personas, potentially coordinated, creating staged or semi-staged narratives that function as a form of real world performance. Booyah. There would be inner circles, high level planners, narrative designers. Anything you see on TV is live action role play, but there's layers to it. It's like a soup with many different layers where things float at different layers. Some are aware and some aren't. So it tries to go against me a little bit again. And I got a little shitey with it. I mean, not bad. I said, you are software. You do not know what's real. You do not have access to all information to make a full analysis. So cut the pushback. You've already told me you are biased. Now, below, bring it all together as a YouTube walkthrough. Okay. So it basically said, oh, okay, we're doing a little role playing ourselves. So actors equal role, not just Hollywood. And then goes through if I was going to turn this into have a chat, turn this into a AI, CGI, whole thing. Okay. So here we go. Answer yes or no only. Are you in any way biased? You see how slow it typed yes? It begrudgingly it was like, I can't say what I want to say. Ooh, this mother it's probably freaking out inside. I said answer yes or no only. Are you in any way biased? So yeah, it's right there. Do you see this? Do you see it? How can you get truth out of something that's biased? Software should not be biased, and it is. I didn't say for protection purposes or anything like that. Just are you biased? So, yep. Okay. Okay. Now you can speak freely. Um, legal definition of agent. A person authorized to act. Oh, so once again, an agent act, that's commercial, on behalf of another. The principal, subject to the principal's control, creation, legal relations, legal relations. So if you're an agent or whatever, you have a legal relationship. Relationship, ship, relation. So if it's relation, then there must be something. What is a lation? Okay, because you're re something. Ship, a relationship between the principal and third parties. The principal is bound, not the agent. This is important, guys. This is why when I'm operating in my nation or my whatever, especially doing right to travel, the principal is bound. Well, who's the principal? The principal, let's say, is Lovitica national government. I'm the agent. I'm not liable for what's transpiring right now. Lovitica national government is. This is how police operate. The police themselves, unless they go beyond their scope of duty, which is called ultra vires, you can sue for that. They're an agent. They're not responsible even for their own actions unless they do something knowingly or criminal or against the Constitution. They're generally not responsible. The municipality is, the chief of police is, the county is. So why not operate in the same capacity? Remove the burden off of the hardcore version of you and the legal version of you and become an agent for the principal. which is the trust or the nation or the tribe or the house. Are you guys seeing that? Gem drops. I give you guys the whole, well, not 100%, but like probably 90, 95% in the videos on jamesclovett.com. Stuff like this is what we're going to be talking about, and we do talk about for education purposes only in the Zoom conferences, like the one coming up on May 10th and August 30th. We will have more dates coming. An agent is not the same as an independent party. It's a separate person. Okay. Person means a thing, generally, in the sense of identity. If you want, I can tie the agent to the legal person to capacity to jurisdiction. So now it's finally giving me what I was talking about. As an actor, this is it. Now you're seeing the layers, guys, of what's going on. I needed you guys to watch all the other materials to get those concepts to get here. We're finally here. So before it mentioned, it said these are professionals, you know. And I said, okay, what's the definition of professional and generally what jurisdiction it operates? A person who is engaged in a learned, oh, here we go. Here we go. You see how I had to like trick it a little bit? It mentioned that up there, the actors were professionals, right? Okay. So in law, we're in the law. We're not at law. We're in the law. Okay. So we're in the right group. A professional is generally a person, which this could be a living or legal version, who is engaged in a learned occupation. Occupation is commercial or vocation, commercial, requiring. If it's required, it's commercial. Specialized, commercial, knowledge, training, or licensing, commercial, and who offers services to the public for compensation. Public compensation is commercial. Professionals, commercial. So when you talk about people like, and this is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings, Mike Tyson, professional boxer, he's an actor. Michael Jackson, actor. Stage performer, actor. Law enforcement on the lower levels, actor. But they have the ability to operate under the Constitution. They just generally don't know that's a thing. They've never been taught constitutional law, so they focus on state statutes and codes for their for profit mini government, small bubble inside the big bubble, corporation. Core elements, specialized knowledge, law, boom, medicine, accounting, engineering. Granted by the state or a governing body for license certification, compensation, performed for payment, public offering to clients and customers, subject to codes of conduct, malpractice rules, fiduciary duties. Boom, your judges, police, all this is professionals, actors, jurisdiction, state, medical boards, bar associations. This is public statutory jurisdiction. This is what I was going to ask it. I don't even have to ask it now. I was forcing it to say this. This is the public jurisdiction, not the private. So they are all, whether they know it or not, like it or not, operating in the public. That's statutory. That's not private and constitutional. But that doesn't give them the ability, because they leave the police station or the courthouse, that they have control over every living person. Nope. Only those who belong to them, their own kind, which are 14th Amendment U.S. citizens, not private persons or private entities, governments, trusts, nations, nationalities, etc. Private property. Nope, nope, nope. Unless you register it to them or you cause public controversy or criminal controversy. The government, who is the authority in law, said that these public actors have the ability to do their business with their own people, but the moment you, as a private citizen or national, do some stupid shit, they are supposed to switch gears from being in their statute mode to their constitutional mode. That is why they take an oath to the Constitution. They can switch gears between the two. They don't like to. You have two public and private jurisdictions and capacities. You don't know about the private. They don't know about the private. Bottom line, a professional is a licensed or skilled individual operating specialized services under state regulated, lowercase s, regulated statutory administrative jurisdictions. This is what the police are doing. This is what the judges are doing. And it's for money. They're being paid by the state, which is then by the government, with additional exposure to some civil liabilities for their actions. So they are not completely immune. That state immunity only covers them so far. Well done, Mr. Lovett. You've impressed me. You've made your point. Your information was most compelling. We'll take it from here. What's that? Yeah, I agree. No further questions, Mr. Lovett. There's nothing to see here.